good, pal.
Here's a question. What's the most famous 57 Chevy of all time? The one in American Graffiti? Nope. Two-lane blacktop? Try again. It's yellow. It's been alive for almost 60 years. And it starred in a movie with a young Tony Danza and Michelle Pfeiffer. We're talking about Project X, the magazine car that became a movie star. The test mule that became a legend. Today we're revealing 20 facts about Duke's ride from Hollywood Nights that'll blow your mind. Some of these are so wild, even the guys who built it couldn't believe they happened. This isn't just a car story, it's a time machine on wheels. Before we burn rubber down Van Nuys Boulevard, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust us, this gets weird. Number 20, Tubby's was a set. The main hangout in Hollywood Nights, Tubby's Drive-In, that iconic location where all the action happened, where Duke parked Project X, where the car club gathered. It wasn't real. Well, sort of. The location was real. The restaurant wasn't. It was a burned out A&W root beer stand at 7310 Van Nuys Boulevard in California. The place had been torched, abandoned, perfect for a movie set. The production team rebuilt just enough to make it look functional. New signs, fresh paint on the parts that would show on camera. But walk around back, still charred, still destroyed. They built a facade, a Hollywood facade for a Hollywood movie. How perfect is that? The crews would set up in the morning, shoot all day, then tear down at night. Local kids would show up after dark to see if anything was left behind. Usually wasn't, but the location became legendary anyway. After the movie, hot rodders would cruise by looking for Tubbies. They'd find a vacant lot, or another business. The A&W never reopened. The fake Tubbies existed for maybe 3 weeks of filming. But in hot rod culture, it's been alive for 40 years. Fans still post photos standing where Tubby's was, even though it never really was. Number 19. Most famous 57 claim bold statement coming. Among hot rodders, Project X is the most famous 57 Chevy ever built. Not the prettiest, not the fastest, not the most valuable, the most famous. More people know Project X than any other individual 57. Think about it. How many 57 Chevys can you name? Not describe. Name. Project X. That's probably it. Maybe the one from American Graffiti. But what was that car's name? Exactly. It didn't have one. Project X has been in magazines since 1965. It's been on TV, in movies, at car shows, on Power Tour, at SEMA. It's been everywhere, literally everywhere a 57 Chevy could go. And it's always been Project X. Same name. Same yellow paint. Same legend. Other cars get forgotten, sold, scrapped, hidden in collections. Project X keeps going. Decade after decade, generation after generation. Kids who saw it in Hollywood Nights are grandparents now. Their grandkids know Project X from YouTube. It's transcended being just a car. It's become the 57 Chevy, the reference point, the standard. When someone says 57 Chevy Hot Rod, Project X is what appears in their mind, whether they know its name or not. Number 18. Engine smoke on camera. Watch the race scene with the Cobra carefully, really carefully, right after Duke shifts. There, see it? Smoke, not tire smoke. Engine smoke. Something let go under that hood. You can see it on film. They kept rolling. This wasn't supposed to happen. The blower was wounded, badly wounded. The lower pulley had come loose, maybe broke. Stories vary, but something mechanical failed during filming. Coolant sprayed everywhere. Oil too, probably. The engine was hurt, you can hear it in the scene. The engine note changes, gets rougher, starts missing, but they needed the shot. So Tony Danza kept driving, kept racing, kept acting like nothing was wrong. The Cobra scene was crucial. They couldn't reshoot, no budget, no time, no backup blower motor. So they used what they had, broken motor and all. Watch Tony's face in that scene. He's not acting concerned. He's actually concerned. The car's dying under him. He can smell it, feel it, hear it. But the cameras are rolling. The production fixed it, sort of, enough to finish filming. But Project X was never quite the same after Hollywood Nights. That wounded blower became part of its story. Battle scars from its movie career. Number 17. Clone car movement. After Hollywood Nights, everybody wanted their own Project X. Everybody, kids, adults, professional builders, backyard mechanics. The clone movement started immediately, 1981. Guys were already building tributes, finding 57 210s, Not Bel Airs, had to be 210s, painting them that specific yellow, that Tony Nancy yellow. Bolting on blowers, tubbing the rears, creating their own Duke machines. The movement never stopped, it got bigger. Power Tour events are full of Project X clones. Some are perfect recreations, every detail correct, the right wheels, the right stance, the right everything. Others are interpretations. What Project X should have been, could have been, would have been, if they built it. There are probably more Project X clones than any other famous car. More than Eleanor, more than the General Lee, more than anything. Because it's achievable. It's a 210, not a Hemi Cuda. It's yellow paint, not some impossible candy color. It's a roots blower, not some unobtainium race engine. Regular guys can build Project X clones. And they do. Constantly. Every year new ones appear. At shows, on Instagram, in magazines. The clone movement became bigger than the original. Project X spawned an entire generation of yellow 57s. Number 16, diecast cult status. ACME Collectibles made a diecast. A perfect 1:18 scale Project X, Hollywood Nights version, blown small block, no hood, yellow paint. Every detail perfect. This wasn't just another model car, this was an event. Collectors went insane. Pre-orders sold out instantly. ACME made a second run. Sold out. Third run. Sold out. The diecast became as famous as the real car, maybe more famous. More people own the model than have seen the real thing. The secondary market exploded. Models that sold for $70 new were bringing $300, $400, $500 for the rare first editions. Collectors who never cared about 57s had to have the Project X model. It became the centerpiece of collections. The one model everyone noticed. Is that Project X? Yes it is. ACME knew they had gold. They made variations. Different wheels, different engines, different years of Project X. The Hollywood Nights version remained the most valuable, the most desired. Guys would trade multiple models for one Project X. The diecast created new fans. People who discovered Project X through the model, Googled it, found the history, watched the movie, became obsessed. A 12-inch piece of zinc created an entirely new generation of Project X fanatics. Number 15, Big Block Comeback. 2023. The future is here. Electric cars everywhere, hybrids, hydrogen. The internal combustion engine is supposedly dying. And Project X gets a 632 cubic inch big block. 632. That's 10.3 liters for the metric folks. Bigger than a Viper engine. Bigger than anything GM sells. Bigger than sanity. After the electric experiment, Hot Rod went the opposite direction. All the way opposite. The biggest, nastiest, most ridiculous big block they could find. Chevrolet Performance's Zenita 632, 1,000 horsepower, 900 pound-feet of torque, naturally aspirated, no turbos, no supercharger, no nitrous, just displacement. Massive, overwhelming displacement. The car that started with a 283 small block now has more than double the cubic inches. It's like giving a house cat steroids. Lots of steroids. The frame can barely contain it. The transmission prays every time someone starts it. The rear tires have nightmares, but it's perfect. Perfect for Project X, a car that's never made sense. Making even less sense. The big block sounds like thunder, literally. Set off car alarms from a block away. The electric motor was the future. The 632 is the past, present, and middle finger to anyone who thinks hot rods should be sensible. Number 14. Brief EV experiment. 2021, SEMA show. Project X rolls in silent, dead silent. No engine noise, no exhaust, no mechanical symphony. Electric. They went electric. Chevrolet Performance's E-Crate system. 340 horsepower, 325 pound-feet of torque. Instant, silent, weird. The hot rod world lost its mind. This was heresy, blasphemy, sacrilege. Project X without noise, without smell, without soul. But here's the thing. It worked. Really worked. The electric motor was faster than most of Project X's previous engines. 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds in a 57 Chevy. With 1950s suspension, the torque was immediate. No lag, no waiting for boost. Just instant, violent acceleration. The kind that breaks traction at 40 miles per hour. It was a statement. Hot rodding isn't dying. It's evolving. Maybe. The experiment lasted about 2 years. Long enough to prove the point. Long enough to anger traditionalists. Long enough to inspire some builders to try electric. Then they yanked it out. Dropped in the 632, because Project X isn't about making sense. Never has been. The electric motor was just another chapter. Another test. Another way to keep a 60-year-old car relevant. Did it work? Ask the guy doing a burnout in his Tesla-swapped 32. Ford. Number 13. Retro movie look redux. After GM's modernization, fans were upset. Really upset. Project X looked too modern, too clean, too not Hollywood Nights. The complaints poured in. Bring back the movie look. We want Duke's car. What have you done to Project X? Someone listened. 2000 something. Dates get fuzzy. Project X went retro, back to the Hollywood Nights appearance. Sort of. They couldn't undo the GM chassis work. That ship had sailed, but they could make it look right. Wyand blower on an LSX 376, modern engine, vintage look, big and little tires, Kragers up front, bigger meats out back, just like the movie. The stance dropped, lower, meaner, more Duke. The paint stayed yellow, always yellow, but they matched the movie shade. That specific 70s yellow that looked right under Van Nuys streetlights. It was compromise. Modern performance with the vintage aesthetics. The blower whine was wrong. LSX engines don't sound like small blocks. But it looked right, photographed right, felt right. The retro redux made everyone happy. Sort of. Old school guys got their Hollywood Nights look. Modern guys kept their fuel injection and overdrive. Project X split the difference. Like it always has. Never quite period correct, never quite modern, always somewhere in between. Number 12. $1 Million Reinvention. 2007. General Motors gets custody of Project X. Not a loan. Not a lease. Custody. Like an automotive divorce settlement. And GM goes insane, absolutely insane. They tear it down to molecules, every single piece documented, photographed, cataloged, then rebuilt, but not restored. Restified. Their word, GM spent stupid money. Corvette front suspension, complete custom setup, 4-link rear, mini tubs, Detroit speed components everywhere, modern everything hiding under vintage skin. The anniversary 427 crate engine. Not just any 427, the special one. 620 horsepower. Gross. They say the build cost approached $1 million. $1 million. For a car that cost $250 in 1965, the frame was strengthened, reinforced, basically replaced, computer-designed bracing, modern metallurgy. It could handle twice the power it would ever see. GM wanted to show what they could do, what modern technology could bring to classic iron. They succeeded, maybe too well. Project X became too nice, too perfect, too finished. It lost its test mule character, its rough edges, its accessibility. It became a show car, pretending to be a project. Fans noticed. Magazines noticed. Eventually, even GM noticed. Number 11. Yellow name drop gag. There's a scene in Hollywood Nights, Duke's showing off a freshly painted hot rod. Someone asks, "Is that piss yellow?" The builder responds, "No, it's Tony Nancy yellow." The builder is Tony Nancy, the actual Tony Nancy, playing himself, making fun of his own signature color. This wasn't scripted. Well, it was, but not like that. Nancy was supposed to say something else, something boring, but he had lived, made it about his paint, his legacy. The director kept it. It's one of the best moments in the movie because it's real. Nancy was a legend, a painter who became famous for one color, that yellow. That specific, unmistakable yellow, every hot rodder knew Tony Nancy yellow. If you had it on your car, you had connections, you had taste, you had money. Because Nancy didn't paint just anybody's car. The joke works on multiple levels. It's funny if you don't know who Nancy is, funnier if you do, and perfect because Project X wore that exact yellow. The movie car painted by the guy making fun of his own paint. In the movie about the car, it's meta before meta was a thing. That 3-second joke became hot rod scripture. Tony Nancy Yellow became even more famous because of a throwaway line in a teen comedy. Number 10. Magazine star turned actor. Think about this. Project X was already famous before Hollywood Nights. Already. It had been in popular hot rodding for 15 years. 15 years of monthly coverage, tech articles, feature stories, reader updates, drag tests, dyno pulls, everything. The car was already a legend in magazine circles. Then Hollywood called. They needed a hot rod, a specific kind of hot rod, yellow, loud, memorable, but not too nice. Had to look like a 20-something. Mechanic could own it. Billy Davis, automotive detective, found it. Project X was perfect, already yellow, already blown, already famous to the right people. But unknown to mainstream audiences, the casting was brilliant. Use a famous magazine car that civilians wouldn't recognize. Hot rodders would freak out. Everyone else would just see a cool car. The gamble paid off. Hot rodders did freak out. That's Project X, they told their friends. Their friends told their friends. The movie became a cult hit partly because car guys championed it. Project X went from magazine star to movie star. But here's the thing. It was always going to be famous. The movie just accelerated it, took it mainstream, made it immortal. Without Hollywood Nights, Project X would still be legendary, just to a smaller audience. Number 9, 60s setting, 70s vibe. Hollywood Nights is set in 1965, but look at Project X in the movie. Really look at it. That's not a 65 hot rod. That's pure late 70s style. The stance is wrong for 65. Too low, too aggressive. The wheels are wrong. Kragers weren't that wide in 65. The tires are wrong. Modern radials pretending to be bias ply. The blower setup is wrong. Too tall, too chrome, too everything. In 1965, hot rods were different, higher stance, smaller tires, more conservative. Project X in the movie is an anachronism, a time machine that went to the wrong year. The producers didn't care. The audience didn't notice, or didn't care if they did notice, because it looked cool. That's all that mattered. It looked like what people in 1980 thought 1965 looked like, which was wrong, but perfectly wrong. The anachronism worked because the whole movie was anachronistic. The music was too clean. The cars were too shiny. The streets were too wide. It was 1965 through a 1980 lens. Rose-colored glasses with a slight prescription error. Project X fit perfectly because it was wrong in exactly the right way. A 70s hot rod playing a 60s hot rod in an 80s movie. Number 8. Found by a car hunter, Billy Davis. Remember that name. He's the guy who found Project X for Hollywood Nights. Professional car hunter, automotive detective, the guy producers called when they needed specific vehicles. Davis had connections everywhere, knew every significant car in Southern California, who owned what, who might sell, who might rent. When the Hollywood Nights producers said they needed a yellow 57 hot rod, Davis knew immediately. Project X, it was perfect. Already famous in the right circles, available for the right price, camera ready. The negotiations were simple. Popular hot rodding needed exposure. The movie needed a car. Deal done. But Davis found more than just Project X. He sourced most of the Hollywood Nights cars. The 40 Ford, the Cobra, the background cruisers. Everything. He was the unsung hero of the production. Without Davis, Duke drives something else. Something wrong, something forgettable. But Davis knew cars, knew movies, knew what worked on camera. He picked Project X because it had presence, character, story. It wasn't just a yellow 57, it was the yellow 57. Davis made that connection, made that movie, made that legend. After Hollywood Nights, everyone wanted Davis to find their cars. He became the go-to guy for period-correct automotive casting. Number 7, real Cobra opponent. The stoplight race. Duke in Project X versus some rich guy in a Cobra. Classic David versus Goliath. Blue collar versus blue blood, except the Cobra was real. Actually real. Not a kit. Not a replica. Not a fiberglass fake. A genuine Shelby Cobra. In 1979, when they filmed this, real Cobras were valuable. Not millions valuable like today, but significant money. Too much money to risk in a movie, but they used one anyway. The owner was on set, sweating, praying, watching Tony Danza race his irreplaceable Shelby. The production had insurance, supposedly. But insurance doesn't replace a real Cobra. Not really. Nothing replaces a real Cobra. Every take was terror. Every launch was a potential disaster. The Cobra was faster. Much faster. They had to film it at partial throttle while Project X went flat out. Making a roots-blown Chevy look competitive with a Cobra required creative editing. And luck. Lots of luck. They got the shots, nobody crashed, the Cobra survived, but barely. The clutch was toast, the tires were done. The owner probably aged 5 years in one day, but that scene became iconic because it was real. 2 real cars really racing, no CGI, no green screen, just Detroit Iron versus Anglo-American hybrid, and Duke won, because movies. Number 6, on-set failure lore stories from the set. Everyone has one. The grips, the gaffers, the extras. They all remember when Project X broke. Spectacularly. The lower blower pulley, that's what everyone mentions. It came off, or came apart, or exploded, depends on who's telling it. What's confirmed, Something mechanical failed during filming. Coolant went everywhere. Steam, smoke, chaos. Tony Danza was in the car when it happened, thought the engine was about to explode, which it might have been. Blown small blocks don't like losing their pulleys. The crew scrambled. This was a disaster. Project X was the star car. No backup, no duplicate, no CGI to save them. They needed this car running. Yesterday, the fix was brutal. Hollywood brutal. Make it work for one more scene, one more day. Worry about proper repairs later. They zip-tied things, safety-wired others, used JB Weld like it was going out of style. Added extra coolant, crossed their fingers, kept filming. The wounded blower limped through the remaining scenes. You can hear it, the engine notes different after the failure. Rougher, angrier, more mechanical. It added character, unintentionally. The failure became part of Project X's legend. Another battle scar, another story, another reason it's the most famous 57 ever. Number 5, wheel stand movie trick, that launch scene. Duke hammering the throttle, the front end coming up, way up, classic wheel stand. Except, Project X couldn't do wheel stands, not really. The weight distribution was wrong, engine too light, rear end too heavy, front suspension too soft. Physics said no, but the director wanted a wheel stand. Needed a wheel stand. Wheel stands sell tickets, so they cheated. Brilliantly, the trunk got loaded with everything heavy they could find. Cylinder heads, wheels, transmissions, lead weights, sandbags, anything to shift the weight back, way back. The rear shocks got cranked to maximum extension. The front shocks got loosened, way loosened. They might have even pulled the front sway bar. Then Duke launched. Hard. Harder than the car had ever been launched. The front end came up, not much, maybe 6 inches, maybe a foot, but enough. The camera angle did the rest, low angle, dramatic perspective, made it look like the car was standing straight up. Movie magic. After filming, they unloaded everything, hundreds of pounds of metal. The trunk floor was bent, permanently. Another battle scar. Another story. The wheel stand became legendary. Kids tried to recreate it, couldn't, because their trunks weren't full of cylinder heads. Number 4. Blown small block reality. The engine in Hollywood Nights. Let's talk about reality versus legend. Everyone remembers a fire-breathing big block, massive blower, 700 horsepower, terrifying. The reality? Roots blown small block, 350, maybe 377, 400 horsepower on a good day, with a tailwind. The blower was mostly for show, low boost, maybe 6 pounds, just enough to make noise, not enough to make real power. The exhaust was uncorked, straight pipes, all noise, no mufflers, made it sound bigger than it was. The 4-speed was a Muncie, rock crusher probably, strong enough for what it was. But this wasn't some race-prepped monster. It was a magazine test car playing movie star. The reality didn't matter. On film it looked terrifying, sounded terrifying. That's all that mattered. The blown small block was perfect for filming, reliable, predictable, easy to fix when it broke, which it did. A real race engine would have been a nightmare. Too finicky, too expensive, too likely to scatter itself across Van Nuys Boulevard. The small block did its job, made noise, made smoke, made memories. Nobody watching cared about dyno numbers. They cared about Duke beating the Cobra, which he did, with 400 horsepower and creative editing. Hollywood magic beats horsepower every time. Number 3. Duke's on-screen ride. Tony Danza as Duke, the mechanic with the cool car and cooler girlfriend. This was Danza at the beginning, pre-taxi fame, pre-everything fame, just a kid from Brooklyn pretending to be a hot rodder, and Project X was his ride, his character-defining vehicle. Duke wasn't rich, wasn't connected, he was a wrench who built his car with his own hands. That's what Project X represented, attainable performance, blue-collar speed. The everyman's hot rod. Danza apparently loved the car, really loved it, wanted to buy it after filming. Couldn't afford it. Plus, popular hot rodding wasn't selling. The car was bigger than the movie. The chemistry between Danza and Project X was perfect. He looked right in it. Comfortable, natural, like he'd been driving it for years. Which he hadn't. He'd barely driven stick before Hollywood Nights. The production gave him lessons. In Project X. On public streets. With a camera truck. Following. Learning to drive clutch in a blown 57 while acting. That's pressure. But it worked. The Duke Project X combination became iconic. When people think Hollywood Nights, they think of that yellow 57. When they think Project X, they see Tony Danza behind the wheel. The actor and car became inseparable, forever linked in hot rod history. Number 2. Not just a movie prop. Here's what people don't understand. Project X wasn't built for Hollywood nights. It wasn't a movie prop that became famous. It was already famous. Had been for 15 years. Popular Hot Rodding bought it in 1965 for $250 from a used car lot in Santa Monica, $250, for the most famous 57 Chevy ever. They called it Project X because magazine projects needed mysterious names. X sounded cool, experimental, dangerous. For 15 years, it was their testbed. Every new part, every crazy idea, every reader suggestion, they all got tried on Project X, small blocks, big blocks, fuel injection, carburetors, blowers, turbos, everything. The car was never finished, never complete, always changing, always evolving. That's what made it special. It wasn't some pristine show car. It was a working test mule, beat up, modified, real. Readers loved it because it was attainable. They could build their own Project X. Many did. The magazine documented everything, every modification, every mistake, every success, tech articles, feature stories, racing coverage. Project X was in popular hot rodding every month for 15 years before Hollywood Nights. The movie was just another modification, another chapter, another way to test what Project X could do. Number 1. 210 sedan, not Bel Air. The biggest misconception, the one that drives Tri-5 guys crazy, everyone calls Project X a Bel Air. Everyone. It's not, never was, never will be. It's a 210. The middle model, not the fancy Bel Air, not the stripped 150, a 210, two-door sedan, postcar. The difference matters. Bel Airs had more trim, more chrome, more everything. They were the fancy Chevys, the ones doctors bought. 210s were working class cars, honest cars, the ones regular people bought. Project X being a 210 is perfect. It represents the hot rod ethos. Take something ordinary, make it extraordinary. A Bel Air would have been too easy, too obvious, too expected. The 210 was unexpected, different, better. Watch people at car shows. They walk past Bel Airs, seen one, seen them all. But a blown 210, that stops them, makes them look, makes them wonder. The confusion continues because people don't know Tri-5s. They see a 57 Chevy, they say Bel Air, like all tissue is Kleenex. All 57s are Bel Airs, except they're not. Project X proves it. The most famous 57 Chevy isn't even the top trim model. It's a working class hero, a 210 that conquered the world. And that's our countdown of the 20 weirdest facts about the most famous 57 Chevy ever built. Project X, the magazine car that became a movie star and never stopped evolving. Did you know it wasn't a Bel Air, or that the Cobra was real? Drop a comment with your favorite Project X era. Hollywood Nights, GM Restoration, Electric Experiment, and if you want more stories about cars that change hot rodding forever, subscribe right now. We've got plenty more legends to expose. Until next time, keep it yellow and keep it blown.